Welcome to our second video of Search for the Secret, where we take you through an amazing adventure created by a world-renowned artist, literary geniuses, and a book publisher by the name of Byron Preiss. In our first video, we took you to what we believe is Image 1's location, which is Glen Canyon Dam. And why? Because it makes some absolutely amazing connections. Just take a look at this. Rainbow Bridge, right? Look at how much that makes sense there. You get all kinds of connections into Glen Canyon that you don't see anywhere else. You can even see one of my favorites, which is right down here in this particular rock feature, all built on sandstone. But go check out our first video where we also connect verse 5 to image 1. Why? Because there's only one lane 222 that we know that connects to such a nice location based off of the imagery connections, which is Glen Canyon Dam right by Old Indian Road 222. And, you know, for windswept halls, you'll figure that one out when you see our video. It's absolutely amazing. Please check it out. Now, for this video, we're going to cover image 3. Now, most people have thought that image 1 is for San Francisco, right? And we understand that. It makes a lot of sense on many levels. But we believe that, once again, image 1 is for Glen Canyon. And image 3 is what we feel is the right connection for San Francisco. And we're going to show you why. Well, what verse does it connect with? We're actually pretty impressed that past searchers were able to connect the right verse. And we agree, it's verse 7, without a doubt. And we're going to take you through an amazing step that's going to start at Glen Canyon Dam, and it's going to walk you through the entire path of going down all the way down to a very historic site, one that has been here even before the Golden Gate Bridge was created. Actually, we have some images here of the old of Golden Gate Bridge actually being built, and you can actually see where we're going to go in this image right here. Now, just a little tease. We'll bring that back a little bit later in terms of where we're going. Now, the next steps, right, is where we're going to take you. But before that, I just wanted to essentially let you know that unfortunately my buddy couldn't make this trip with me on this one. If you saw our first video, if you're going to check it out, Steve Dig 'em Up Owen, he couldn't make this trip, but he did make the trip out with me to New York, where we're going to create a video in the future, which is pretty awesome for sure. We'll save that one for later, but for this one, we're going to continue on our path in San Francisco. Well, why? Why San Francisco? Well, look at the armored image. You flip it over. First of all, it's a golden image, isn't it? That says something quite a bit because it's a Golden Gate Bridge right there in San Francisco, right? Now, when you turn the image upside down, it actually has cables, right? You actually have cables. And it looks like the Golden Gate Bridge, not only as a bridge itself with cables, but even the very bottom where the water meets the actual bottom part, and you can see similar where it looks like water is meeting the headpiece right there, making a similar image and similar shape. But that's one reason why. But we're going to take you on a great adventure here to help you to understand why we truly believe that image 3 is the right connection to none other than Golden Gate Bridge. And here is another reason why. Now, this is going to be very important because not only does the image make a map when you turn it upside down or a great connection to Golden Gate Bridge, but we're going to go down what is the path along the bay that it takes us through just an amazing historical opportunity to learn about the bay in San Francisco right by the bridge. And we're going to go through and see military bases. We're going to see an airfield. We're going to see and find out what the true Stonewall is that is talked about in the verses, right? So, and we're going to end up at a place where the shadow of the image actually takes us to and points us to. We all know, and those that have been longtime searchers know, that one of the most important pieces is the shadow. And the shadows, those take you to where you need to go if you can figure out the rest of the verse clues and the image clues. So let's get on the path here. Let's go on to the verse, and let's start talking about what the next verse truly is, and that is at Stonewall's door. At Stonewall's door, the air smells sweet. Now, what would that mean here in Golden Gate Bridge? Well, right by the sea, there is an actual stone wall. Where is it? Well, it's all up and down the coast, all up and down the bay, starting at Golden Gate Bridge, all the way up to where we're going to be going before we take a nice detour. And why was it put there? Well, let's check it out. In 1869, it was put in there to help to protect Fort Point from the elements, from storms. And as you can see, a granite seawall was put in place to help protect the fort. Now, what does it look like up close? This is what it looks like. These are granite stones that are all up and down the bay along the coast as we're walking along the path in our journey. Now, you can even see them here, right down by the bridge. As you can see, it basically makes a nice wall, which is built off of granite stones, right? So, but does that make any sense for the air smell sweet? Where would the sweet smell be coming from? Well, let's remember what it says. At Stonewall's door, right? Well, where is the door coming down to Golden Gate Bridge and going along the trail that we take to learn about history, to learn about Golden Gate Bridge and all the forts and the military and the airfield that's up there? Well, of course, what do you do at a door? You welcome people. You welcome them into your house. And so where do we need to go to start? None other than the Welcome Center for the Golden Gate Bridge, where the air smells sweet. And why? We're going to get to that in just a moment. Now we're back up at the Welcome Center for the Golden Gate Bridge. Now what would be up here that would make the air smell sweet? Well, when you first get here as a tourist, or somebody's getting ready to go down to the Golden Gate Bridge and walk along the stone wall, well, you have two cafes, including the Bridge Cafe, as well as a very well-known, the Roundhouse Cafe. Okay, now, what could be at the Roundhouse Cafe and the Bridge Cafe that would make the air smell sweet? Well, we found some old images, and we actually found an older menu. But check out this image. As you can see, the Roundhouse Cafe had pies, and we actually found in the menu that it had sweet rolls. Ooh, how sweet and wonderful they smell. I want to eat them up right now. So, now, even today, they sell cookies. Well, I'd imagine if you go there today, you're going to smell cookies and coffee, and it's going to be a nice, sweet smell. So, well, how do we know that this is part of the imagery and part of this particular solve and treasure hunt? Well, look, as we see, he put it right there, the Roundhouse Cafe, in the armor of the image on the left shoulder, with the circle as well as the walkway up to Roundhouse Cafe. So we know the air smells sweet. And why? Because it's at the Welcome Center, at the door of the Golden Gate Bridge, where you're going to head down and you're going to walk along the sea with the stone granite wall, right? So what's next? Well, the next step here is high posts R3. Now, doesn't that sound military-ish? What would be the odds of us within our next path to run into something that had 3, something up high, and that was military-ish? Well, take a look at our path here. Where are we going? So we're going to go from the Welcome Center area. We're going to follow along a path, and it's going to take us to something that has 1, 2, and 3. All right? So that's our next path here. That's our next step on this wonderful journey. So we're at the next clue, which is high posts are 3. Well, once again, we discussed that high posts mean usually something to do with the military. Well, as we leave the Welcome Center at the Golden Gate Bridge, there's a couple paths we can take. One of the paths actually takes us a direction towards a tunnel. Now, this is what the tunnel looks like. A little bit eerie, a little bit crazy looking, but nothing, that you couldn't walk through there with a little bit of fun. And it brings you out to quite the amazing view. A view where back in the day, there was cannons up on top of this hill that overlooks the bay, and it was East Battery is what it was called. Now, the East Battery also has some bunkers. Now, the bunkers are still here today. We're going to show you those right now. So on this side is what you see today. You see a bunker as you are walking the path, one of the paths, down from the Welcome Center to what is the Stonewall, which is basically our walk that's going to take us up the coast, past military, and to see some amazing views that we're going to get into in just a little bit. But as you can see, once again, there are 3 posts, 1, that are still here today, 2, 3. And there's 3 bunkers still that you can go see and check out after you walk through the tunnel if you go the one route. And that is high posts are 3. Education and justice for all to see. Well, when we get down to the boardwalk area where the granite stone wall follows along the bay, one of our first views that we get to see is of none other out there on the bay is Alcatraz Island. Now, that makes a lot of sense for justice, right? For all to see. I mean, it is so visible just about anywhere you are, up and down the bay from where we start to where we end. And obviously, if you know the history of Alcatraz, not only for justice, but there was actually a native Indian situation where they took over the island for a while. And we know the importance of the immigration piece to the native populations throughout the book that Byron wanted us to recognize. And that's a big piece of what we think any location must have, a significant immigration situation where it affected the native population. Now, what about education for all to see? We know the justice, but what about education? Well, as you're going along the different routes all up and down the coast and the bay that we're going to be walking, you're going to see plaques and different educational information about the entire Presidio area, including giving us information about military barracks, intelligence barracks, an airfield, and that all up and down. So education for all. Everybody gets to learn about the area. So not only justice and education, but how do we know in the image that he actually connected and want us to know for sure that Alcatraz Island was a part of this? Well, if you know Alcatraz Island, you know there's a very significant lighthouse up there, right? So let's see where he put the lighthouse. Well, Alcatraz Lighthouse is right here, okay? And as you can see, this looks very much like the lighthouse on Alcatraz. It even has this little piece right here, like the window that it has, and you can see the lighthouse right here, and this whole arms on both sides make quite the nice lighthouse. And even a significant building that's around the Alcatraz Island lighthouse that has a building that's kind of deteriorating that looks just like this right around it if you're looking at it from the right angle. So, education and justice for all to see on our path, taking us next to our next clue. All right, let's do a quick recap. So, we know where the Stonewall is. We also know where the air smells sweet, the Welcome Center. We went to the high posts are 3. We also had a chance to see justice for all and education for all. Now, we'll show you some of the educational pieces that you come across on your path in this segment here. But first, let's go to Up in the Sky near Aces High. Or sorry, Sounds from the Sky near Aces High. What could that mean? Well, it sounds pretty much like airplanes, doesn't it? Well, let's go to this. Check out this unbelievable connection to none other than the 1st Army U.S. Air Corps West Coast base. And as you can see, not only does the image have a plane in it, but it looks exactly like Crissy Field. Okay, not just the airfield, but look at down here in the swamp area. Sorry, the marsh area. It even has the same marsh pieces to it. Do you see the marsh right here, down here? So not only do we have an airfield that matches Crissy Field, which is once again the very first U.S. Army Air Corps base on the West Coast. Now, that connection is quite amazing for sure. And just a little history, as I mentioned, as you're walking along, getting education for all, you start learning about this area and the importance of it for World War I, World War II, and the defense of San Francisco and the West Coast. Now, Aces High, well, fighter aces from World War I, right? I mean, that's where the term came from. So near Aces High is they took off from this base and they were high up in the sky. And fighter aces, this is where they practiced. This is where they started learning how to do intercontinental and cross-continent flights. And now we're on to our next clue, which is running north, but first across. Well, can you imagine what we might be running across? We'll get to that in just a second here. First, we want to show you some amazing clues that are in the imagery that help us to know we're on the right path. The first one is a key chain and a key. Now, he used it in multiple ways, the illustrator. He not only used it for the San Francisco War Memorial, where there's World War I, World War II, and I believe even Civil War, military graves, as well as a memorial for an unknown soldier. So, but he also used it for that particular key. And why? Well, as we get to this bridge, which we're going to be going across, right? And people use it as a runway across the marsh that we pointed out on Crissy Field. Well, there's this very unique, whatever this is, that is planted in the grass that has been there since the early 1900s. And there's this little feature in it right here that has something on it that we're going to go to take a closer look at. Well, take a look at the key that is on that particular feature of whatever that plaster plaque thing is. And as you can see at the top of the ring key is this very unique feature. Looks exactly like the key in the image. You know, not only is it a skeleton key, but it's looks just like the top of the key that's in the plaster right before we're about to go over our next clue, which is across. Now, how about going north, right? Well, take a look. So here's where we're at right here. And this, right in this area, after we passed Chrissy Field, and once again, the marsh is over here, the marsh. And as we pass Chrissy Field, that plaque is right in this area. It's kind of buried like right in here. And now the bridge, as you can see, is taking us across the marsh. So we got to take the bridge to get across the marsh. And which way is it taking us? Well, let me show you. I just got to get out of the way here. North is that way, right? So first across, then we've taken it going north. And then we're going to head up this direction to, well, what are we starting to see? Well, as we know, we've started up here by the Welcome Center. You know, this looks just like this image. It even looks like a bridge is kind of crossing over. You know, we have the Welcome Center pieces. It looks just right like this, of the piece that kind of comes out all the way down. As we can tell, we see this very unique, right, connection to this right here. And we're about right here. Okay. Now, what we want to really look at, though, is there's a shadow. And we know shadows are very important as a part of the secret. There's a shadow right here. There's no other shadows really in this image. There's a shadow right here. And look where we are going to be going. Right here. That's the location we're going. Right to where the shadow points us. Right? We know what we've had to take to get here. We know where we are right now. We're about right here. Yeah, right in this area. Okay? And we're going to go to the shadow, which is none other than the Palace of Fine Arts. And we can see it. We see it from Chrissy Field. It's right in our view. It's so easy to see, and it's almost the whole way we see this amazing architectural structure that's like right out of Roman architecture. It's unbelievably beautiful. And so we know we have to go to the Palace of Fine Arts, which is our next step. So, running north, but first across, and running across the bridge. Let's go to our next clue. So now we're at the Palace of Fine Arts. And there's a number of clues here. Some of them we're going to take you through in a video format. Some we're going to take you through in images. So let's get through them. Now, before we go into the videos and some of the images, first want to show you a connection to the Palace of Fine Arts in the imagery. Now, check this little feature here that looks like a mouse. It looks kind of like a mouse nose, right, with an eye. All right? Well, look at the connection we have here to the palace and how it has the same feature, but look where the palace is located, right? Right where it should be. So we have this mouse nose feature that also looks very similar to the parking lot area of the palace, and right where we're supposed to be and where we end up, which has unbelievable connections to the image. And we're going to take you through videos and imagery to show you that here just in a little bit. But right where we're supposed to go, as we can see, it's marking us and showing us we should be at the palace, and there's imagery connections to the Palace of Fine Arts. Now, look at this architecture behind me. Isn't it amazing? I mean, truly, this is like something you would have in ancient Greece or Roman Colosseums. And, you know, to have this type of construction is mind-blowing, and to see it is absolutely gorgeous and amazing to go check out. I highly recommend anybody to go to the Palace of Fine Arts. It's truly unbelievable architecture, and it's been around even before the early earthquake in the early 1900s, and was a part of the World's Fair way back in the day. Now, so what is the connections here? But I just want, because there's quite a bit, I'm going to read it here real quickly. So, in Jules' direction is an object of Twain's attention. Most people think that's Mark Twain, and we absolutely do. And we're going to show you a video here in just a minute on what is would catch Mark Twain's attention. You're actually looking at it right now. You don't realize it. Maybe some of you do. Have you ever heard of his muse? Well, we're going to show you a video in just a second. So, giant pole, giant step. To the place the cask is kept. That's the final verses of the imagery here, of our opportunity to connect imagery and the location with the verse. Okay? Now we're going to take you through, for the Twain's attention, this video coming up. We're also going to show you what the giant pole is. We're not going to show you what the giant step is, because we don't want people coming here and digging up. All right? We want people who are willing to work with us. We tried once. We had one legal dig, and we had 4 spots that we were targeting, and we hit something when we were probing during that legal dig. 3 feet down, we were ecstatic. We thought it had to be it, but we still have 3 spots that we are quite certain of. 2 especially, and 1 that we're really strong on at the moment. We'd love to work with anybody that has their own the approval to do it through the city. We don't want anybody coming here and doing anything illegal, but if you're willing, we're willing to work with you, and we'd be wonderful to partner with people. We don't need to dig up all these. We just want to partner with people who love this and want to be a part of this. And if you have that ability, because we can't get approval to do another dig till 2023. So if you have approval, let us know. We'll work with you. We'll figure it out. But let's take you through some videos in just a second. But let me just show you some really amazing architecture here. Okay? Now, do you see this particular image here? It's pretty amazing, right? Like, what if we saw something that would just blow our minds with this unique feature that was in the image? Now, what could that be? Check these out. Well, how about you have a woman here with these long arms. Now, obviously, the arms aren't that long, but when you add the poles in, you know, giant poles, giant pole, right? Kind of give you some clue what the giant pole is. But as you can see, now, well, how amazing would it be if not only did you have that feature, but you had a flower that looks exactly like the flower up on top of here. And look what we do. We have it. There's a flower up there. We're going to take a close-up of it. Check this out. Look how that flower looks exactly like that flower, right? You have this woman holding up arms that are really stretched. It just looks exactly like the imagery. Where are you going to find that anywhere? A connection like that with the flower up on top that makes a perfect connection to it. All right. So now there's a little bit of a hint to the next piece, which is the giant pole, but we're going to throw some images in as well as do a couple videos next before we go on to the immigration piece. So we hope you enjoy this, and then we'll get to the immigration. So what could be an object of Twain's attention? Well, you got to do a little bit of your research. And if you know that throughout his life, after about the age of, I think, 17 or 18, he actually had an encounter with a young girl, something that affected him through his whole life. In fact, this image, or muse is what he called it, a platonic muse, followed him in kind of a spirit form in different young girls throughout his whole life. In fact, he even had groups of young girls, I think he called them the angelfish, who would wear white dresses mostly, and he would treat in a platonic, innocent way, from what he would say and from what we know. He liked to be a grandfather type, but mainly to young girls. So, an object of Twain's attention would be a young girl in a white dress. So there you go. So we know what the object of Twain's attention is. Where's the giant pole? Well, hello. We hope you enjoyed those videos. And now you know what the object of Twain's attention is. You also know the large pole or giant pole. How do we know in the imagery, though, they connect that giant pole to the actual image? Take a look. Well, as you can see, in the image, right, you have right here those straight lines that are reddish, just like the reddish giant poles, many of them, at the palace. Pretty awesome connection, right? Right there. And there's so many more. We're going to show you a ton more at the end. But we want to get into immigration. And this one has been a tricky one. We missed some stuff at first. We were scratching our heads, but we're going to take you through it. That way you know that the immigration pieces make sense just like they should. Well, first of all, you have to have a very important piece on each of these, in our opinion at least, which has to connect well to native populations and immigration from other parts of the world coming in and causing the Native Americans to have to change their ways and to be affected by that immigration. So who are some of the Native Indians here that you get to learn about and the educational piece when you're walking up and down the Presidio? Well, one of them, has been here for well over, since 4000 BC, which is the Olan tribe. And you can learn more about the different tribes and stuff and how immigration has affected them, and that's one of the reasons why you have native populations that took over Alcatraz Island for a number of days, maybe it might have been weeks as well, to protest what was happening to the native populations. Well, once again, you can learn quite a bit, at the different locations, different informational areas about some of the local tribes, including the Olan tribe. And they have some really great stuff, and it was very enjoyable to learn about. Now, let's learn about the connection to the jewel, connection to the verses, and all that good stuff. So first of all, what jewel is in this, and how does that connect to immigration in the book? Well, the actual stone and jewel is a garnet. And what does it say about that in it? It says, "Fairies of England proudly bear garnet, crown jewel of their queen." So, well, garnet, right? Well, it's talking about fairies. We'll get into that in just a second, because there's some pretty amazing, we'll show a video of that as well to show you some fairies and how that connects here. But we'll also show you an image before we go to the videos. Now, in the book, where does the fairies and connect to, which is connected to the garnet, which is number 6, England. How in the world does San Francisco connect England and immigration? Well, we've got to go a little bit deeper, okay? We got to look in the book and the story that he provides, as well as learn a little bit about the history of San Francisco. So, well, real quickly, in the book, it literally says, pilgrims, the stem pilgrims, the stern pilgrims, the rigid British, the fops and the fools, questing fortune in the West was irresistible to the fair people. Now, this is on page 31 of the book, The Secret, A Treasure Hunt by Byron Preiss. Okay? Page 31. It literally is talking about British. And what are flops? Well, flops are kind of like silly-looking, dressed individuals, men from Britain, right? And he literally mentions them seeking fortune in the West. And what do we know what people did in the West, especially in San Francisco? Well, gold rush, right? That was one of them. But people came here for many reasons, especially San Francisco. Did you know that there was an actual emperor of San Francisco? That emperor was Emperor Norton. Well, technically an emperor. I mean, they just kind of let him be and act like an emperor. He actually was very wealthy, though. And in fact, he was from Britain, and he was here in San Francisco in the 1800s. And as a part of that, guess what he was responsible for? He actually helped and made the suggestion and was helping to push plans to actually build a bridge across San Francisco, and from San Francisco, to Oakland, which ended up being the Golden Gate Bridge. You can look that up for yourself. Emperor Norton. He was considered an emperor, even created his own money, and they actually accepted it at local shops. And he was from Britain. So in the book, Not only is he telling us that British and English went west for fortune. Once again, doesn't that sound a lot like them coming into like San Francisco for the chase of the gold rush? But also you have prominent British individuals, and one that was called Emperor Norton and considered himself an emperor of the Bay Area and all the U.S. and Mexico. So anyway, more connections, and as you can see here, you can learn more about him right here. The essentially numerous decrees calling for construction of a bridge and tunnel crossing San Francisco to connect San Francisco with Oakland. That was Emperor Norton, an individual from the UK and England. So many prominent UK and British that came into here, and it connects once again to the British. Now, as you can see, there are certain names that are attached to number 6, which is fairies, pixies, hobgoblins, and bogarts. Well, do we see any of that in the actual imagery here at the palace? Absolutely amazingly. Fairies right here are all over this place. You have fairies that make up in so much of this architecture. It's so incredible how we have connections to fairies. We also have connections to, guess what? Goblins. Look at this. Look at this thing. It's a goblin. You also find angels in here. You have goblins. You have fairies. So that's how he connected the immigration to this particular site. I know it throws you off a little bit because you don't think of Britain being a part of San Francisco, but there were very much prominent British that came into San Francisco and immigrated here. So now we know how he connected British and the UK into the Palace of Fine Arts through the jewel, through the verse and the story, as well as through the people or the fair people that he put into the book, including fairies and hobgoblins and all the above. Pretty amazing stuff. Now, we thank you so much. We hope you had a great time with us in our second video. We had a lot of fun putting this together for sure, and we hope that we can get back up or help some people to change from what they have been chasing after, usually at Golden Gate Park. Switch to this image. It works so much better. The verse works so much better, and we just want to help this get done so that we can all get back on what we believe is the right track that connects all the imagery, that connects the immigration, connects the jewel, connects the verses in a succinct way that takes you from one spot all the way down to the end. Now, we're going to show you some amazing architecture, some additional connections, as well as just some architecture views and pictures of the palace, and maybe even another video or two about when we were up here having a great time. So if you like this, just click that button, follow us. We're not asking for anything else. Share it. And if you have, once again, the ability to do a dig legally, feel free to reach out to us, especially on our Reddit channel. And we would love to connect and help you. And if we can all enjoy this being dug up one day, it's just going to help the secret and all of our searches all across this. So anyway, thank you so much. And we'll see you in our next one, which is going to be talking about one that nobody believes in, but I'm telling you, it is up in Yosemite, and we'll prove it to you. Thank you very much. So this vase, I guess base you can call it, is right there in the middle of the picture. I mean, you can absolutely see it, especially the top part up here in this area, the middle part. The bottom part's interesting because it actually, the bottom part is across the bottom of the picture. So he uses a little mix of things within how he shows the bottom and the middle part, but it's absolutely there, including the vase with that wrapped around thing there. He just puts it in the wrapped around part next to the bell that's right next to it. So you don't put two and two together until you figure out what he's doing right next to it. So he doesn't want to make it too obvious. Wow, I'm just blown away by the beauty of this architecture. And I can see so much of the imagery within the palace. It's just beautiful.
right? See the window, see the large pole, large step, see the vase. It's just gorgeous. And I truly hope that I can bring this to light for the world of San Francisco, for the importance of the immigration to this city. I think it would mean a lot to the people around here, for sure. So let's see, let's hope, and keep grinding, never give up, and don't be afraid to stand by yourself if you're sure, if your convictions are sure. Right or wrong, you're going to learn, right? You're going to have a great time. You're going to go on your own path, your own journey. You're going to learn about history. You're going to learn about the location. You're going to learn about something. You're on your own journey. Who cares if you dig up a treasure? Because you already found the treasure. The treasure's just getting out, having a good time, learning, enjoying the outside. We have such a vast history in this country. Get out, enjoy it.